Good morning everybody, James from Fairclough Studios here, and today I want to talk about camera cages. Now, I got the A7S III, and this year I really want to get into shooting more handheld. The mechanical smoothness of gimbal shots is great for some projects and some shots, but I don't like it all the time, and I feel like I've become really over-reliant on it. I've been kind of excited to get into the whole kind of gimbal thing, and now I've got a solid skill set at it. I really want to try something different, shoot some more handheld footage, and see what I can do with that to get a more kind of organic feel. So I've been shooting handheld with the A7S III, and I've got some sample footage kind of coming up in the next couple of weeks that I've been out shooting in between lockdowns and everything like that I'm just getting around to edit. But I do feel like I need more places to grip the camera in order to get the shots that I want. Now, I had a cage for the A6500 when I used to shoot that about 3 years ago, and I loved that because it added a little bit of bulk to that tiny camera, and it had a wooden hand grip which was not only comfortable to hold but also warm in the winter. Now this is the SmallRig 3009 Master Cage Kit, and I've just received it in the post, so let's get into it and have a look. So, get that there. So, plain brown box, as is usual from SmallRig. Nothing to write home about there. Inside there is, looks like a lot of single-use plastics there. I do not approve SmallRig. So, just a box, get rid of that. So, plastic bag, SmallRig branded. Kind of basic. They don't have kind of the advertising budget of Tilta or that kind of thing, but their cages are generally good quality, so you know, you got to take everything as it comes. Inside the box we have an Allen key and 2 screws. I think that's the HDMI cable clamp, NATO rail, and we'll get into that. Top handle, ooh, that's heavy, and an empty bag, and the actual cage. So let's look at the actual cage first. Feels nice. Feels like weighty but not too weighty. It doesn't have, sorry to be negative straight away, but it does not have a Arca mount on the bottom. That's annoying. A6500 one had an Arca mount built into it, so you could just slide it onto a tripod, but this does not, so I'll have to use a separate mount. Not the end of the world, but yeah. Positives: this screw to attach the cage to the camera doesn't come out. Fantastic, which means you can't drop it down a grid or in some long grass or in your bag in the dark and can't find it again. Not that any of those things have happened to me ever. Yeah, they have. There's also a tool which magnets into the bottom there. Yeah, this is like a little hex screwdriver. Allen key, that's the one. Allen key wrench. And it's also got a flat side which, yep, that fits into the screw, so you can screw that in and out. I usually use a 20p or a 50p, but I always lose it. And I also have a little spanner for my spider holster, which the other end of it works in those, but I can never find that in a hurry. So having that on the cage to set up when you want it is brilliant. Attaches with 3 magnets, and there we go. It's quite a form-fitting cage. Feels like it's going to be quite comfy. You know, the old ones were just kind of squared off metal, very utilitarian. They worked, but they weren't the kind of comfiest things to hold, whereas this thing feels like it's going to be a bit more organically part of the camera. It also has a little mounting screw here, so you can attach that through the strap lug of the camera to add a second mounting point, so there's no swivel. Don't know if I'll be doing that because I want to be able to take the cage on and off pretty quickly, but we shall see. There are plenty of attachment points. There's a lens support here, which I don't think I'll be using because I don't really use massive lenses. And there is ARRI locating pins on the bottom and 2, 3, 4 standard mounting holes for tripod plates and that kind of thing. You could put 2 screws in a tripod plate to make it kind of anti-swivel. That'd be really nice. And like I said, there's also the ARRI mounting plate at the bottom, mounting point, sorry, so you can put rails or rods or anything that you want on the bottom there, or a shoulder rig. Again, I won't be doing that. On the sides, there's plenty of mounting options. I'll be getting into kind of side handles and that kind of thing, but that's as extreme as I'll go, and plenty of mounting points on the top. I don't think I'll be using loads, but those give a good place to put the NATO rail. So let's have a look at the next bits and then we'll put it together. So the top handle, which is the bit I'm really excited about, this basically gives you a handle on the top of the camera to be able to get moving shots and to be able to kind of rest one hand under the camera and one on top. So you can do pans, you can do tilts, and you can do inverted shots, and you can kind of do all sorts of manipulations, and it's great. I've not had a top handle before, but I have used cinema cameras which have the top handle built in, and it is so much easier, which is why I wanted to do this. This is a system called a NATO system, which, if you're unfamiliar with it, it's like a quick release but for handles. It means instead of putting individual Allen screws in like you did with the old cages, you just have this one kind of thumb screw here and you just tighten it in. It also comes with an Allen key built in, which you can use to tighten up this screw as well, and it just sits there in the side of the handle when you're not using it. Also on top of here there's a cold shoe, which is a locking cold shoe. There's a second cold shoe on the back, and there are mounting points literally everywhere on it. There's a full ARRI mount, I keep forgetting what they're called, ARRI rosette mount on the front there. There's a 15mm rod mount there. There's two more ARRI locating points on the sides. There's one on the top. Honestly, what you couldn't attach to this, like, honestly, yeah, you could put loads and loads of stuff on this and make it really unwieldy and unmanageable if you really wanted to, but I am not going to. I'm mainly going to use it just as a handle, and maybe in the future stick a monitor on the end. Yeah, so it seems great quality, nice and heavy. Again, the more weight that you can add to your camera, the smoother your handheld is going to be, and that is what I need because I am super shaky. This next bit is... This is the NATO rail for the top. So this is the accessory which lets you attach the handle via the quick release to the top of the cage. You can put this on the side, you can put this on the top, but I believe there is also a NATO rail already built in, yeah, I can see it there, to the left hand side, so you can use NATO accessories on there natively without the need for this adapter. And the last thing in here is a HDMI cable clamp. Now, anybody who's ever used a proper HDMI cable in the side of the camera while they're live streaming or anything dreads the day that they stand on the cable, yank it out of the camera, and simultaneously ruin the feed and destroy the motherboard in their camera. Not fun times. So this thing attaches into the side and basically nips up the cable, so it's attached to the cage by the length of the cable. So the worst thing you're going to happen is pull the camera over, and you're not going to really break anything. It's not going to be ideal, but this little £18 piece of metal is going to save thousands of pounds and your reputation if you're doing something live. So I approve of that. I don't know if I'm going to use that all the time. It's probably going to sit in the box until I have live streaming jobs, but there we go. So let's try and get this on the camera and see how easy it is. So I have my A7S III here with a 55 1.8, which is my standard configuration for most things. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the little locating screw here. I'm not sure if I'm going to use this. I'm just going to keep my Peak Design strap lugs on it for now. I'm going to put the camera in this way. It is metal rubbing on metal, so I hope it doesn't scratch it, but time will tell, I suppose. Right, so it is on. Sorry about the delay there. Yeah, the spanner thing is a little fiddlier than I thought to use, but it does work well, and I'd rather have it than not. When it's in the hand, you can see the grip on this side here now. The grip kind of forms a nice curve, and it's kind of contoured to the grip. So when you hold it, that feels really nice. I didn't like the way the old small rig cages felt in the hand on the A6500, but that is really, really nice. I like it. The camera is quite noticeably heavier now. Yeah, I didn't expect it to have that much weight. With handheld, it's a good thing, and I'm going to tell myself that it's worth it. There's also strap points here, so if you wanted to move your Peak Design anchors to up there to use the strap on it, and there's one on the other side here, yeah, you can do that, no problem. It also does not interfere with the articulation of the screen, so you can use it in all angles, which is great. It doesn't seem to interfere with the buttons too much, although the record button on the top is annoyingly kind of underneath the metal, but you can still reach it. The dials are still really accessible. I heard someone complain about the mode dial not being accessible, but I think that's kind of fairly easy to reach. Plus, when I'm just filming, I wouldn't have the cage on for photography anyway, so if I'm just filming I don't need to switch modes, so not a problem. All the doors on the side open, no problem. Yeah, especially the HDMI port, which is the most useful one for me. You can still get to the battery door underneath, and you can still open... Peak Design gets in the way a little bit, which is probably the reason why you'd move that, but the SD door opens pretty easily. And there we go, everything else good to go. And it looks like you can change lenses pretty easily while it's on there as well. Can't get that back on now, there we go. So that is the cage. So having a cage on its own, not really that useful. Obviously it adds a little bit of bulk and it lets you mount stuff to it if you want to, but if you've got nothing to mount to it, there's no point having the cage. So this is why I wanted the kit with the top handle on it. So let's try and figure out how this NATO handle attaches onto the top. It's what these small screws and this Allen key's for here. So there's just two Allen screws that go into the top. There it goes, top front. Try and get that there for you. And then I'm just going to nip those up, and then we're going to put the handle on and see how that goes. So you need to kind of keep this somewhere handy if you ever want to take that off. I personally will probably, that's the last time I'll ever put that on. So, handle. This kind of slides onto the rail, and then there's two things to stop it sliding off, so even if it comes undone it's not going to fall off. That's quite reassuring, I didn't know about that. And then I'm just going to tighten this thing here, this screw, and then with the Allen key you can actually put it in the holes in there, and you can use that to do another quarter turn over what I can turn it with my hands. So that is now nice and secure on there. So there we have a top handle rig. Quite heavy, not gonna lie, but that feels quite nice to move it around like that, just to loosely kind of hang your hands on it. So this is generally what it's looking like with the cage and the top handle on it. So the handle comes quite far forward. It means certainly with this 55 1.8 you've got a good centre of gravity. It also means you can kind of shoot from up here as well, and you can either use the EVF or you can kind of look down at it here. The more points of contact with your body you can get with your camera, the better. And so kind of cradling it in to here, or shooting from the hip and kind of using this as an attachment point to kind of really anchor it to your body, especially when you're moving, to do smooth pans and tilts. Holding it into your body like this, smooth pans and tilts. You look mildly ridiculous, but it really works and it's well worth it. So yeah, this seems absolutely great. Brilliant quality. It's absolutely like, it's not loose at all. I'd be happy kind of throwing that around on a shoot, and yeah, know that it's not going to come loose. It's very solid, it's very well built. The last thing is the HDMI cable clamp. Now basically all this does is screw into the side. Here near the HDMI door there's two little locating slots there, which two pins on here locate into, so it can't swivel around. And all you do is screw that in, put your HDMI cable through. I don't have one handy because I'm using them all to film this. Yeah, basically as you tighten it, it nips up the cable, so you can do this with one hand, like no problem at all. Yeah, seems a really great system, and yeah, definitely going to use that at some point, but it's not something I'm going to have on there all the time, because that's just another thing to hit myself in the hip with when I'm shooting, and I do not need that. So overall, first impressions, very impressed. Form fitting, relatively inexpensive. It's cheaper than the tilter cage, and it's a lot cheaper than like a shape cage. It doesn't feel cheaply built, it doesn't feel generic, it's a very well considered design. There are more than enough mounting points on this for my needs, certainly, and next thing is to get out shooting with it. So I'm going to go out when the rain ever stops, because it's been absolutely torrential for days here. I'm going to get out in the garden because we can't really go far in lockdown, and I'm going to see what handheld footage I can get with this and how it compares to the handheld shoots I've done over the past few weeks. So that's it for today. Thank you so much, guys. If you consider subscribing to the channel, I really appreciate it. I've got lots more unboxings. I've got some A7S III, I've got some handheld, I've got loads of stuff coming up. So keep your eyes on the channel, turn my notifications on, and leave me your comments. Let me know what you thought. So thanks so much, guys, and see you soon. Bye.